Welcome back to Good Day Orlando. Time now is 9:23. After tragedies like last week's mass shooting in Southern California, many people are feeling distressed. People also want to know how they can help out as well. We're joined now by licensed mental health counselor Shantala Boss with tips on how to cope with tragedies such as these. Shantala, good morning. Good to see you.
You too.
Let's start with this. How can you tell if you need help handling the emotions attached to these incidents, and where can people go for help?
Well, I think if it becomes a consuming thought where you're constantly worried or checking or maybe worried more than normal, you would want to check with a mental health counselor. An important thing in going into talking with children is we check in with ourselves. We check in how we feel emotionally and how we're dealing with the event and the process. And if we feel like maybe we're a little on edge or worried, then maybe we need to get help ourselves first before we talk to our kids about it.
We become such a voyeuristic society to a certain degree because of so much exposure to this, not only on television news, but also on social media. And oftentimes people go to social media to express their confusion and their outrage, but it's best to let a professional help you manage this. If you were to call somebody, who should you reach out to?
Well, a licensed mental health counselor is what you would want to look for as far as someone that you could talk with one-on-one. Sometimes people get confused with psychiatrists, psychologists, but you can call your insurance and ask for a licensed mental health counselor, and they can set you up with that. Usually they have a hotline that you can call because a lot of times people don't know where to go or who exactly to ask for.
These events not only affect adults, but they also affect children. So how do you have conversations with your children about these kinds of events? We're all watching the news. We get ready for work in the morning. The kids are out. They're watching the news as well. So how do you deal with explaining this kind of story to young people?
Well, first, checking in with them, checking in where they're at and what they know, and based on their developmental level, temperament, age, and what they've been exposed to. So if we have a child that's in preschool or kindergarten, you wouldn't bring this up unless they're seeing violent images on the news or they've been exposed to something. We would try as much as possible to shelter them from any of this. We just talk about being kind, being good to one another. Now, as they get into the elementary school, we like to say 7 and under, try not to bring it up to them if they haven't been exposed, but leave it an open conversation and check in with them, but don't mention it. Now, 8 and up, we really want to start talking to kids maybe about things that do go on in the world, educating them that there are things that occur. They are going to have active shooter drills at school. They're going to wonder about that. So, but they need to be short, 1 or 2 sentences. Don't give more information than they need. Parents get a little nervous and they start talking. So that's why I was saying earlier, check in with yourself, check where you are emotionally. If you need to get help, and then talk to your kids, and don't give them more information than they need because it could be an ongoing conversation.
All right, good information.
Yeah.
And on this Veterans Day, we want to give you an opportunity to welcome home your husband who's been deployed for a number of months. Give us the story.
Thank you. My husband is Commander Roger Dubay, and he is with the U.S. Navy, and he's been deployed for 14 months, and he comes home next week.
My goodness.
So we're very proud of him, and I like to use him as an example and all of our veterans and those heroes out there, because kids like to know that we have a sense of control and empowerment, teaching them that there are a lot more good out there than there are negative.
The heroes, the men and women in uniform, no doubt,
so
on this Veterans Day. It's good to thank you, and thank you for sharing your story and your information. Where can people find you, Shantala?
My website is shantalaboss.com.
Okay, very good. And I understand he's watching this morning, right?
Yes, he is. He should be watching me. He likes to tape these.
Okay. So a big shout out. What would you like to say to him right now?
I love you, Roger. Thanks for everything you've done.
And thank you for serving our country very much. All right, Shantala, thanks again.
Thank you.
Stay with us. Straight ahead, UCF extending the nation's longest winning streak. Watch the Knights add another W to the list in this morning's Sports Zone. And